Brian Mudd Show is on News Radio 610 WIOD.
What about working at home? You know, we got so many more folks doing this, and for so many of us, it's becoming commonplace. And I come to the office, straight throughout the course of the pandemic, but still, even if I look around, there may be a third of the people here that usually had been, and that's just the way of the world now, right? Well, it kind of makes sense that to a certain extent, as we are more remote, that your employer might be keeping tabs on you to a greater degree, and one of the ways to do that would be electronically. The question is, how pervasive and how invasive is this? Joining us to talk about it is Joel Patterson. He is a workplace expert with the Vested Group website, thevested.com. Joel, how pervasive is it that employers are keeping tabs through electronic means on employees?
Well, it just kind of depends on what you think is pervasive, but I think that most companies have something in place to be able to at least monitor whether or not people are working at all. I think what people are worried about is when you start talking about some of these future technologies that are going to be able to really interpret how people are behaving on video calls, the words that they're using, the tone, the inflection, all of those things will have an impact. And it's the responsibility of an algorithm to just sort of determine what is happening and what needs to be done to follow up with that. So that clearly leaves people feeling a little uneasy about whether or not that is the right way to go about running your business.
So let's talk about that. If we're working remotely, or maybe we just have even a company phone, for example, are employers sampling what's taking place on those devices?
I think it really comes down to what type of business that you're in. In some industries, like if you are on a high turnover call center or something like that, you're clearly going to be a little bit more motivated to really monitor words that are coming out of people's mouths. But if you are in a professional environment where you're maybe used to working online, used to being on the phone, whatever that normal interaction is for you, you're probably not going to do that quite as much. Because, really what we're talking about here is micromanagement. I mean, at the end of the day, we're using different techniques, but it really comes down to micromanagement. And most companies that I know, the successful ones, they are not micromanagers in general. I mean, that's kind of an old school sort of way of doing things. And so hopefully people are able to hire people that they want to work there, that they represent their company the way that they want them to, and that they can trust them to go out there and stay productive, even if they might be working remotely.
So, Joel, you have a lot, especially with people working, at home. It's easy to kind of blur the lines, right? It's easy to use devices that might be work devices for personal items as well. If you're working on, a computer that is, a work computer, you might go do some things when, you're taking a break or whatever on that same computer that has no business application. Certainly that could be the case on a phone that might be a workplace provided phone. Could those types of activities end up becoming problematic?
Yeah, I think if you are worried about this at all, you just want to assume that everything that you do that is work-related on work-owned property, like a laptop or a phone, is being monitored. It may not be, but I think that the smartest approach is just to act as if it were, and then you don't have anything to worry about. But it's clear that as we use more of Slack or Teams or Zoom or anything else, that as those things become more and more monitored, that people are going to become more aware of it. Now, the hope is that people don't even notice they're being monitored, and so you don't change your behavior because of it. But the reality is that if people think that, they're going to change their behavior. And in some situations, that's exactly what the employer is looking for. They want to make sure that they're following whatever guidelines and policies that they put in place as they're interacting with clients to keep themselves out of trouble. And a lot of times it really comes down to that, and to make sure that they're representing the values that they want to represent out in the public.
Joel Patterson with the Vested Group. Again, the website is thevested.com. Thanks, Joel. Appreciate it.
Take care.